All right, guys, welcome to the very first episode of the Southern U podcast, where we try to educate landowners on how to properly manage and steward their property. My name is Taylor McMurtrey. I'm 1/3 of the team here at Southern U. I'm going to pass it over to Jerremy Ferguson and let him give you a more formal introduction for himself.
What's going on, guys? Jerremy Ferguson, 1/3 of the team here. Background is I'm a wildlife biologist, also a real estate broker, and then a partner in a wildlife consulting firm. Through the years, I've been part of the public and the private sector, so and Matt has as well. But hopefully, we're gonna be able to, I guess, take a dip behind the curtain on occasion to maybe how we view some of the decisions that public policy makers are making, and try to give folks an understanding of why some of those decisions may be being made. Especially since we've got some time behind the scenes a little bit here. But through my career, I started out early working with a consultant after college for a couple of years in Georgia. Really had the opportunity to work on some of the premier properties in the Southeast. I'll leave names out, but those of you that are familiar with Georgia know Meriwether and Harris County, was a really big hot spot for several big landowners. Got to work there, and then went to work for a timber company where through the years I was over the leasing program. So, everybody out there, then they can dig on me pretty hard about going up on lease rates.
We do.
Yeah, I know. I think when I started with the timber company, they were about $4 an acre. And I think when I left, they were hovering right around, our average was nearly $10 an acre. So
try 12.
You guys can thank me for that on within our company.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All the companies kind of we're doing the same thing at the same time. So I was nothing special. We were doing nothing special. Apart from any of the others, but just during that time period. But I had, I think, somewhere in the ballpark of 900 clubs that I was responsible for on 350,000 acres.
Gosh, man,
that was 3 states. So did a lot of travel, got a really good understanding of, how the leasing system worked on industrial timberlands. And we all lease ground, or Matt and I do at least, lease ground from the industrial timberland side of things. So there's a lot of things you can do and a lot of things you can't do. So, I've got a good background with that. After my time at the timber company, I moved over into the public sector and was the technical assistance coordinator for Alabama Wildlife Freshwater Fisheries. Loved the job. Didn't really love the politics that was involved. A lot of people say that about jobs in the public sector. Wouldn't take anything from my time there. Met a lot of awesome people and learned a lot of things. And at that time, Matt, myself, and I think it was 5 or 6 other biologists were responsible for the DMAP program. So we worked on, I don't know, Matt may have a better idea, but it was several 100,000 acres of private lands that we worked with landowners and other lessees to help them make deer management and decisions, and habitat management decisions within reason, whether or not they own the property. And about 3.5 years ago, I left there to pursue a career back in the private sector, on my own with my business partner, R.L. Foster, with Wildlife Consulting Services. And also, I've had a real estate license since 2007. So I pursued a career part-time in real estate with Tutt Land Company, and it grew to be so demanding that I do it more full-time now than I do my consulting. But my business partner, and we've got employees that work for us, and Matt is gracious enough to help us where we run out of time and run out of skill occasionally. but been doing that for the last 3 years, and most recently opened an office for Tutt Land, and I'm the broker, so it's taken a lot of time away from the wildlife stuff that I really enjoy. But hoping that this little project kind of gets me back in the saddle and doing more wildlife work than I have been doing. Really enjoy it, but that's probably enough about me, other than got a wonderful wife, Mary Helen, at home. No kids, but we got a lot of animals to take care of at the farm. So
Jeremy's the kid of the family.
Yeah.
I'm most definitely the kid of the family.
My
Don't
wife
feel
does the same thing.
don't feel like it today. We're filming the very first episode of the podcast on the day that I turned 40.
Happy birthday.
So
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. So feeling a little old today. A little run down, but hey, that's part of it.
Nothing to keep you young like jumping head first into a podcast, though.
That's right. That's right. And I expect you guys to dig on me enough that I feel like I'm right back in high school again.
It's coming.
Yeah,
This
it's
way.
coming. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and really, Jeremy is a wealth of knowledge, and it's just kind of cool to be a part of this with him too, and got a vast experience in the wildlife and timber industry, so it brings a lot to the table. And I guess the last third we got going on here is Mr. Matt Brock. Matt, you want to kind of give us a little insight as to
The most famous guy in Alabama,
No.
if you get on aldeer.com.
No, well,
Yeah, AL celebrity.
That's
Yeah.
debatable.
Yeah.
That's debatable. Probably made quite a few people mad on there too. Yeah, so I grew up in a town, Fed, Alabama, that small rural community. I was one of the weird kids.
Still are.
Yep.
Not much has changed.
Right. I mean, ran around with field guides and a backpack, identifying trees and plants and birds, and I was that kid. So I quit sports at age 11 and really had a passion for the outdoors, hunting, fishing, any type of outdoor activity. Ended up going to Mississippi State University. Go Dogs.
War Eagle.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later. That could be an entire episode in and of itself.
It could be. It is the Southern U.
That's exactly right. So I started working with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks when I graduated. And I worked as a regional biologist, mainly a floater on all the wildlife management areas. Got a lot of experience, hands-on experience managing properties, some state-owned, some owned by the Forest Service. But it was very instrumental in helping me understand kind of where I wanted to go and where I wanted to take my career.
Right.
It just kind of set a foundation. I really enjoyed the few opportunities that I got to meet with landowners. When we had an opportunity to come back to Alabama, I started at Black Warrior Wildlife Management Area in the northwest part of the state. And being on that area, I was exposed to a lot of people. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, wildlife management area in the state, over 90,000 acres. And it's also the trophy destination in Alabama if you want to kill them.
I knew that. That's a ton.
Oh, gosh,
It's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
Gosh,
the forest alone is 182, or maybe 188. I don't know. It's over 180,000 acres. God. So half of it is in wildlife management area. And then I think close to a third of that is in the Sipsey Wilderness. Mm-hmm. So, you've got a lot of untouched ground out there. But I had opportunities with the Department of Wildlife to branch out from working on just the public lands, meet with a lot of landowners, discuss things with landowners, and I enjoy helping people. I enjoy figuring out what their objectives are and then trying to help them reach those objectives. Mm-hmm. And I believe after roughly 4.5 years, I had the opportunity to go into the private lands program where this knucklehead here was my supervisor for a few years. But anyway, we had technical assistance biologists that handled DMAP programs, for the deer management, but also we would meet with anybody about anything. It didn't matter if they were trying to manage for butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
So any type of wildlife-related questions that they had, the technical assistance biologists were dispatched to take a look. And, I enjoyed working for the state, but there were aspects of it that it helped develop me into the biologist that I am today. But gosh, I just love the private sector so much more because I was making recommendations for all these landowners.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, I walked away and I was like, I don't know if they're going to do this stuff or not. And there's not
Yeah,
really.
I don't know if he felt like I did, but we all did at that position during our time in the state. You'd write tons of plans, and they just get put on the shelf. And we both kind of figured out that there wasn't a lot of practitioners out there doing the type work that we were recommending. So all these folks wanted to do these things. There was just nobody to help them do it, actually do it on the ground.
Yeah, actually carry it out.
Implement it. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we made a lot of times I would just type up a summary. These are the tracks that we looked at. These are the recommendations that I make in order for you to reach your objectives. And I slide that over the table, and I don't know what they do with it. And they are asking, well, who do I get to do this work? Well, I don't know.
And really,
I can't
really
make any
wasn't,
recommendations.
yeah, really wasn't allowed to make recommendations.
So there's a big need there, a big need for people not only to make the recommendations but to actually do the work for these landowners. So in February of 22, I turned in a resignation, and I've got a business partner as well. We started Habitat First Properties, and here we are in September of 23, and everything's going well. Really enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people that I get to work with, the people that I meet. And I just hope that, some of the things that I've learned about wildlife management over the years can be applied by somebody.
Yeah, sure.
And because we've had great success managing deer, managing habitats, and we just kind of want to help people out.
Yeah. And I know both of y'all see it. There's, how many podcasts and YouTube channels are there associated or related to deer management or habitat management? But the vast majority are outside the Southeast. And this is where it all started.
And since you brought that up, I'm looking around.
Not a deer in here.
I don't understand how we're doing this southern U without a single southern species of wildlife in this office.
Well,
what kind of image is that sending the people?
That's an image that the folks that helped us set up an office plan for a real estate business and decoration said, not so much dead stuff.
Well, we got to have dead stuff.
Yeah. Well,
we got to work on that.
Need dead stuff.
Got to have Alina and Rio Turkey in here and Pronghorn, behind me. But
Southern U, where you learn about everything but what we're here to talk about.
Yep. But that's the interesting part to me is I really enjoy going outside the Southeast and learning and hunting, and we're going to do some of that. But we're focused on the Southeast here.
Right.
We really are. It's our bread and butter. It's where we work 90% of the time. I do some work in the Midwest. It's not a ton. It's a long way out there. There's folks that we work with out there that are a lot more suited to do that work out there. But occasionally we go out there and do some projects here and there. By and large, just here in the Southeast. But I'll get some whitetails, or we may move and shoot videos and some other locations.
Oh yeah, we're mobile.
My shop. We got
two whole deer.
Yeah, we got the man cave upstairs, so I've got a lot of deer. They just happen to be laying in the floor right now because we hadn't finished up everything just yet.
How many of them were killed in the South, Jeremy?
About 10. None of them very good. I grew up hunting in the Southeast. Unlike you going to Kansas and killing monsters in Illinois.
One time.
Well, hey, you'll learn about Matt that we're not going to give up too much about where he and I hunt now, but I hunt right next to his house, and that's for a reason. Really good quality deer coming from over that way. I grew up in Marshall County, so if you don't know anything about,
I don't think you saw a deer till you were 18.
Gosh, man.
I've still never seen a deer on our family farm here.
Wow.
And we're 5.2 miles as the crow flies from Gunnersville State Park, which has
infested with deer.
One of the highest deer populations in the state. And the reason, I mean, I'm guessing here, but I think the reason that we don't have any deer there at our farm is because the Short Creek is a sheer rock wall for several miles from our farm down to Gunnersville,
Right.
and they just don't seem to cross it. But I grew up fishing, and I grew up hunting too. Don't get me wrong. I killed my first deer when I was 10 with a rifle. The next year, I picked up a bow, started practicing, all winter, all summer long. We were hunting in southern Tennessee, Lincoln and Franklin County. The first time I put my butt in a tree stand with archery equipment, I shot a doe. The next day, I shot another doe. So I was ruined from that point.
Yeah, for sure.
We had a ton of deer up there. Just, the quality was lacking. But I've shot tons and tons of deer through the years, but we just never really had any great deer around, and we're starting to get better deer here. Like I said, I've still not seen a deer, on our family farm in Marshall County. We've bought another farm from where I grew up. It's about 4 or 5 miles, and we do have a few deer there. The population is so low that I'm not going to shoot anything there. But, a few years I'd expect that population to continue growing and maybe have the opportunity from time to time. But, yeah, I think the biggest deer I've killed in the southeast is it's 117, 118 inches.
We got to change that.
Yeah. But, I mean, how many people that hunt in the southeast, that's about what they're shooting?
For sure.
When I meet with landowners, a lot of them have unrealistic expectations in Alabama. And when you meet with them, they're like, well, we want to kill 130 and 40-inch deer. And I'm like, well, great. We can do that, but don't expect it every year.
Right.
Our deer, they don't have the soil quality that the Midwest has. We don't have the age structure that the Midwest has. And I don't really worry about genetics. We can talk about all this at another time. But, there are places in the South that can grow some tremendous deer.
Absolutely.
With age. And we just don't have the age structure.
I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest hurdle that I think we have here in the Southeast, and especially in Alabama. I know that's changing somewhat, but I think we've been pretty slow to change here in Alabama as far as a population of hunters. And if you want to shoot the first deer that walks by all means, have at it. I don't want to be telling anybody what to shoot. Your enjoyment comes from what you do. I happen to enjoy chasing old deer. It doesn't matter what's on their head. If I can go out and shoot personally a 5.5-year-old buck, I'm tickled. I don't care what he's got on his head. And we've got perfect examples of that, and we'll show some pictures and show some hunts. So
I've ruined the whole season trying to kill a 110-inch 5-year-old deer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, do we have good deer? Absolutely. Do we occasionally pop up with a 150-inch deer on our place? Yeah, but most of the time they're Pope Youngish type deer.
Oh yeah.
To down to maybe 115.
Yep, and it's about reining in those expectations.
It
because,
is.
A 120-inch deer in Alabama
Trophy.
is a really good deer for most
that's
people.
right.
A 130 is a phenomenal deer, and 140 or better is probably a deer of a lifetime.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it a lot, and I realize I'm kind of the oddball here. I'm the only one in the room that's not a biologist, and I own a marketing company called Broadside Marketing and Branding, and
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug
Yeah.
there, no big deal. But and so part of what I do is the digital space and doing this kind of stuff. That'll be the first podcast I've ever produced, but the name Broadside comes from archery. I mean, that's kind of my first love is basketball, and at some point you get to a place where you don't get to play meaningful basketball anymore, so it's time to go find something else to get passionate about. And so I'm like, if I can't play basketball, what can I do? And always loved archery, and any excuse I have to fling arrows is a good one in my book. So, but yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot in terms of just expectations for the South in general, certainly Alabama, but it's just different here. It's a different world. And, again, I'm not a biologist, but it's just from experience. I have hunted the Midwest, and I can walk deer in the Midwest, no problem, because they're not as few and far between. It's not that there's a 150-inch deer behind every tree, but I mean, I can only count personally. I know that I've laid eyes on from in the woods, on the hunt, one deer in my lifetime that would go 150 for sure. That would absolutely go 150 or better. Mm-hmm. Now, do you get pictures occasionally of something like that? Yeah, every now and then. But just the realistic expectation of actually putting that deer in your truck is just it's hard. So hard to do here. And around here the saying is, if you can do it in Alabama, you can do it anywhere. And it's, I mean,
I agree.
It's the truth,
It's been my experience too.
And there's, public land can be tough, and I know there's folks, I'm giving them a plug here, but perfect examples of guys hunting public. Mm-hmm. They're going out and they're killing some pretty solid deer on public land, and they even came to the South. And I know Warb shot a giant in Georgia.
Yeah.
But that's not the rule. That's the exception.
Exactly.
They struggled on Sam Murphy, if I'm not mistaken.
They did, yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's big deer. Matt mentioned Black Warrior. I mean, it's becoming a destination place for the Southeast, but it's also a little different. I mean, if I remember correctly, during the Mississippi State Research Project, it was the only deer population that still maintained some of its genetic material from the restocking days.
Yeah, which happened in 1925 and 26. They brought in, I think it was 101 deer of both sexes from Iron Mountain, Michigan, in 25 and 26. So we're approaching 100 years, and those deer still have some of the genetic material from that source population, which they did not find anywhere else in the state of Alabama.
Right.
Gotcha.
And they still rut in November. Mm-hmm. They still have that Midwest rut.
Bigger body deer.
They're larger body. They have
different coloration.
The hair is unbelievable. Like, we have these short-haired deer in the South. These deer have a much lighter coat. Their hair is extremely long, even 100 years later. Their bone structure is different. Their facial coloration is different. And they're just a different deer.
Yeah.
And it was very evident to me the first time I worked the check station there, and they were bringing in deer that first hunt. I was like, man, these deer look just like deer from the Midwest. I mean, I had killed a few deer in the Midwest, and I was like, these deer are not southern deer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. And it's kind of cool to see how all this stuff is played out, like you said, almost 100 years later, So without getting off too bad on a tangent there, this is kind of our introductory episode too. And so if you happen to be listening to this or watching, kind of what we wanted to do with this episode is just kind of explain, kind of who we are, backgrounds, those sort of things, but also just kind of get it out there as far as what we're trying to do and what this podcast is going to cover, what it's going to represent, what you can expect as a viewer on your end. So I've got a couple of questions here. Just kind of some very basic introductory level stuff that we want to address in this first episode. So now, we'll kind of bounce it back and forth. But the first one here is like, what is the mission of Southern U? Or like, what is it that we're trying to accomplish with Southern U, with this podcast, with, platform? We've got a marketing guy and two biologists. So, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? And you guys fire away, whichever one wants to kind of take a stab at that.
I mean, I think plain and simple, it's education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We want to provide some information, through social media that's going to help people manage their properties, help them make decisions. And, we're not going to be able to, just simply because, hey, we're sitting here in an office and we're talking and hopefully the viewers are watching and listening. But if somebody's giving you a whole lot of recommendations on how to manage your property and they've never been to it, don't listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they can give you some ideas, but somebody that's going to be making management decisions on a piece of property has to see it. You can glean a lot of information from maps and other other sources, but there also has to be boots on the ground. So we're trying to give that foundational information that will help you ask the right questions about your property, and even contact, professionals, whether it be Matt or myself, or there's a lot of other professionals to help you go further down that management line. Of course, obviously, we're going to do some hunting, some entertainment, and obviously anybody that watches it's gonna probably pick up on the fact that I'm just going to give Matt a hard time regardless of what we're doing.
That's anywhere, everybody. Spiritual gifts is talked about in the Bible, and I believe that my spiritual gift, or one of my spiritual gifts, is the ability to take ridicule.
Oh, he takes it like a champ. I've never been around. He should have hit me in the mouth dozens of times.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got cameras rolling. Maybe we'll see that one of these days. So, I mean, whenever we kind of started talking about this, I'll just say this, and I'll let Matt kind of give his take on the question too. But one thing from the start that I said, this kind of as a guy that's trying to put this together and produce it so that people can watch it and listen to it, is I did not want this to be just another hunting podcast. There's a million of them, and I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus or anything like that, but it's kind of a oversaturated market, and that's not what Southern U is. Southern U as in university, like education. And so first and foremost, I think just like what Jerremy said, it's education, but it's not just education for deer or turkey management or whatever. It's, I mean, if you're interested in growing the highest yield of crops on your land, if it's, agricultural type stuff, or if it's timber production, if you're trying to maximize your investment and get the better ROI on some kind of timber investment property or something like that. I mean, this is going to cover all things land related. Yeah. And it's not, and don't get me wrong, we're about to enter into the hunting season. Everybody else in the country is already killing stuff now, but we're not yet. So we're getting there very soon. But it's going to be hunting heavy content to start with, but I mean, it's really more than that, and we want to provide education on all levels. So,
and please don't take away from what Taylor said that we feel like we're experts in all of those fields. We are not.
Right.
But we work closely with a lot of industry professionals in a lot of different, ways, and we're going to bring those folks in. One thing that I'm excited to bring to the table, with that side of things, is a lot of folks are out there looking to buy land. And, I'm going to use my experience, from a sales agent and a broker standpoint to help folks ask the right questions about purchasing a piece of land, what it takes to be financed, just all of it. So we may have entire episodes on, hey, I found a piece of property, that I'm interested in buying. What's my next step?
Yeah.
And then also a really important side of that, is how to sell a piece of property, because we get a lot of pieces of property that are folks are wanting to sell, and they're just not ready. At least they may be ready to give away, but to earn top dollar, I mean, you've got to do some things. So, bringing in those ag professionals, foresters, we're going to have a lot of guests on here, and we're going to pick their brains about those items for sure.
Sure. So, Matt?
Yeah, as for me, I've been doing a lot of thinking on this lately. Like, what?
Don't hurt yourself.
Oh, shut up. What do I hope to provide among this trio here? And what do I want the viewers to receive? And basically, at heart, I'm a killer.
Bloodlust, like
I'm a killer.
no other one other person I know.
Hush, let me finish. Just
buddy
hold
that
on.
hunts with us, but
So,
unbelievable.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are entering the hunting world that had no mentors. They didn't grow up in hunting families. They may not have started hunting until they were 20 or 30 years old. Some of them even later than that. So because they didn't come up in that atmosphere, and going back, I told my wife before we got married, hunting is not a hobby. It's a lifestyle. It's what I do. So I'm hoping that through my experiences, and I've made a lot of mistakes, through my experiences, hopefully I can help someone out if we're going to have this, educational series, we're going to cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to take some of my knowledge on hunting and habitat management and just provide it.
Yeah.
Just make sure people have access to it, because there's things that you cannot teach people until they experience it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So,
you can't tell anybody what it feels like to release an arrow on the first animal that you
even
you choose
people
to
who are
hunt.
apprehensive about that, and maybe even a little bit frightened by the fact that I'm fixing to take an animal's life, to see the smile on their face after they've done it, it's something.
Oh,
you either have it or you don't.
I've been, a part of people taking their first, primarily deer, several times, but more than once. I've seen people cry, and I'm like, what's this about? And they weren't upset. It was just
Excitement.
excitement, and I guess the respect for the whole process.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's pretty neat.
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And this kind of feeds in perfectly to kind of the next question of what topics are going to be covered. So there's a thing that we had talked about before we ever launched, and kind of wanted to structure out when we were putting the schedule together. It's something that you guys are going to see in the near future. A lot of stuff coming out, and we just call it the 101, kind of to go with the U.
Yep.
Keep with that kind of education theme. And the 101 stream of content is basically going to be, just like Matt was talking about, very basic, very introductory, fundamental level stuff. And it could be, just like Jerremy was talking about earlier, man, I've been watching the hunting public, and they're killing, turkeys on public land, and that just looks like so much fun, but I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody to show me the ropes. So, I want to do that myself, but I don't even know where to get started. Well, we're going to have some content that's devoted to that. It's going to be, we'll have a guest on that helps you just kind of discover what's 4 or 5 pieces of gear that you really need to have to be successful. Here's 4 or 5 pieces of knowledge that you need to have in order to be successful in the turkey woods, and we'll have kind of turkey hunting 101. We'll have anything. It could be timber management 101. It could be whatever, archery equipment. We're going to do bow hunting 101, and just we want to provide, like I said, some foundational type education so that you can feel confident. If this is not something that's in your wheelhouse, it's not something that you've ever done before, you can feel confident doing it. Jerremy and I actually went down to Alan Connor's place. Shout out to Alan, AC Sports. But a friend of mine that I went to high school with, played ball with, one of my best friends in the world, he, for whatever reason, he just didn't really hunt as he was growing up, and just, got busy or just wasn't interested for whatever. But in the last 2 years, he's really kind of just gotten the bug, and he's just really trying to gain as much knowledge as he can, and I've tried to help facilitate that as much as possible. And basically, this is what we're doing is for guys like that, guys that are. I'm 34, so he's
just a baby.
He's never killed an animal with a bow, and so that's kind of mission number 1 this season. Is he really, really wants to take a deer with a bow this year, and so we're trying everything we can to help him. So. But anyways, as far as topics to be covered, I just wanted to kind of mention that 101 content. Anything you guys want to add on that?
Yeah, you covered it pretty good, but yeah, to expand on that, we sat down and we tried to think about topics that really aren't talked about that much, that are going to help people be successful. One of the things I would have never thought of, and Matt thought of it right off the bat, is, what do you do after the shot? Everybody talks about the bow, the setup, or the rifle, the setup, what tree stand, but they never tell anybody what to look for after the shot.
Yeah, I've shot a deer. Now what?
Yeah.
What should I have paid attention to when I shot that deer? Where'd the deer go? How was it acting? Where did my arrow make impact? What do I find when I get down there?
What color is that arrow?
Right.
How does it smell?
We don't see a lot of that. People are not covering those topics, and I think that is absolutely vital for someone's success, because they may make a great shot and not know anything about tracking deer.
Yeah.
And if they don't, and they don't have that experience and they don't have a mentor, they don't know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
No.
They're going to stumble through it like a lot of us did.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. I'm excited for it too. That's probably one of the things I'm probably the most excited about, more so than even the hunts and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we've kind of already covered this, so we'll kind of we don't have to necessarily go through all of it again. But I had on here just how did all of us meet? If you kind of want to give any, you guys had talked about working together with the state. As far as me, I actually have just introduced to Matt through Jerremy, just really not that long ago. Just a few weeks ago. But the recommendation of Jerremy and kind of the reputation that Matt has in the industry, I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer for us to work together. But I don't know, Jerremy, you want to elaborate on any of that type stuff? Or?
Yeah, I mean, from the side of things of how I know you, really got to know you, church, through attending church together through the years, and then also your dad guided with my business partner on a outfitting business that my business partner still owns. But you want to talk about bloodlust? It runs deep in that family. It's strong.
Good.
It's strong with the senior McMurtrey, and I think it's pretty strong with this one here too.
Hey man, I told you, any excuse to sling an arrow, I'm there. Right. Any excuse.
But yeah, I mean, I'm going to dig on him because of AL Deer a lot, and they're getting a lot of plugs from us. But if folks don't know, just look it up, and you'll go down that rabbit hole like many hunters do. But that was where I was first introduced to Matt. I met him. I'm like, who is this guy that all of these people that don't know him from Adam have the biggest man crush on this guy? What's he done? Who
I
is
still
he?
don't see it. He tells me this all the time.
Oh,
I don't see it.
He doesn't see it, but go talk to any of our past counterparts, at the state level.
That's so funny.
And they all know that he's by far the most popular guy on AL Deer.
Oh my gosh.
But actually, I think I met him the first time at Deer Study in Mississippi.
Right. Yeah.
So we do a lot, or have done a lot of traveling through the years together since that point, going to Deer Study and then furthering our knowledge and understanding of research and management, and that's how we know a lot of the guys in the industry. My I guess introduction to most of that was in college, and then working for I did some side consulting and tried my hand at video work years ago, and shout out to the Management Advantage, Chuck and Howard. But that's kind of where I got my start into the industry, really. And if y'all don't know Chuck Sykes, I mean, really a wealth of knowledge from the wildlife side of things. He really was my mentor, when I got into this industry. And, of course, that's who brought me on at the state, down the road several years later. But, I mean, being dropped out of college right into, the Outdoor Channel when it was really at its prime, I mean, I got to know a ton of people. And, that's what pulled me deeper into the industry with a lot of, I guess, gear and gadgets and things like that. And that's some of what I'm excited to talk about are some of the things that I know that are really hot topics now because of social media, because of the internet, because of Facebook and InstaFace or whatever.
It hurts.
I mean, look, guys, if you know anything about me, I'm not techno savvy. If you like
that makes two of us.
Yeah, if you like my marketing and you like what my social media stuff looks like, the guy down the end of the table does it all. I don't have a clue.
Appreciate that shameless plug, baby.
Yeah, but I'm excited to talk about things that I see that are hot topics that, man, we've been doing since, I can only say 20 years roughly, because I finished college in 05. So even my time doing internships back then, there's things that are hot now that people, they really view as new that we were doing back then.
Right.
And it's just, it wasn't publicized as much.
Right.
So I'm excited to bring a little bit of that to light and some of the things that we've been doing and give away the information that we've developed, or not developed, but we've, put down and kept records of. There's a lot of folks in this industry that, man, if you want to really dig deep and get the knowledge that they've acquired and obtained, and I don't fault them for it, you're going to pay for it. And we're going to try to give as much of it away as we can.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we manage property for a living, and, if you want to hire us to do that, then obviously that costs money. But some of this information we can give freely, and I think more of us should, honestly. So I'm excited about that.
For sure. Matt, nothing to add there.
No, I mean, just, kind of related to what he just got through talking about, and something we've already addressed earlier, but, there's a lot of these podcasts and the information that's available is specific to the Midwest.
Yep.
And I'm excited personally about helping Southern landowners.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of things they do in the Midwest that are not as applicable down here.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not that that you can't do it,
Right.
but you're going to have a whole lot more success if you tailored it to this climate
Yes.
and this.
Yes.
I mean,
Deer don't respond
No.
to the same treatments here as they do there.
No, I mean,
and without getting deep into it, I mean, a perfect example to me is the hinge cutting that's so popular. I mean, is there a place for it? Absolutely. And we'll get deep into this later on. But, I mean, one of the guys that I spent 2 weeks with that I learned more from about deer behavior, because he studied deer behavior, and he's not a deer professional, but he wasn't. He is now. A guy named Jim Ward.
Yeah.
Everybody in the Midwest knows Jim and his habitat work, but he came down and spent 2 weeks with us, and at the end of it, he said, I hope I taught y'all something, but I know y'all taught me something.
Yeah.
Because it's just totally different here.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, and so I guess this here is pretty much the last question. What does the format look like as far as like how many episodes, what kind of time frame, guests, those sort of things, without letting the cat out of the bag? We've already kind of got some relationships built with a few other industry professionals. We're going to have some guests that we have already kind of lined up, but I think as far as the time frame goes, just because all of us have separate jobs. Like we've all got things that, Jeremy's got multiple businesses. He's doing real estate, or he's doing habitat work, or he's doing all of it together at the same time. Same deal with, Matt's got a million things going on too. So I think for us, what you can really expect is once we start rolling this stuff out, it's going to be bi-weekly. So we're looking at about 26 episodes or so. And if we have time to do more than that, we will, but we're going to tell all of our sponsors and kind of partnership industry partners that we're going to be looking at 26 episodes for sure, and it'll be like I said, bi-weekly. So every other week we'll be dropping a new one, and
some of that, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of that 101 information may be a little more frequently or a little more infrequently, just depending on
just kind of
how we're in the field.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of it's seasonal, right? I mean, like that's why I was saying before, this is going to sound like a hunting podcast in the beginning because that's what season we're in right now.
Yep.
For the next 2
to 3 months.
Right. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. But hopefully, if you stick with us long enough, what you'll find is as we kind of start to get to the tail end of hunting season, then it sort of shifts and we change gears and start talking about more, all right, now post hunting post deer season, what do we need to be doing land wise if we're looking to sell, if we're looking to improve, the quality of our habitat, if we're trying to get ready for growing season for crops, or whatever that looks like. So if you kind of hang with us, obviously we're going to have a lot of fun during hunting season because we're all excited about that. But
Montana, baby.
Yeah, I was about to say, these guys are Jeremy's heading to Wyoming, Montana for pronghorn, right?
Yeah, archery pronghorn
next week, right?
Next week.
Yep. So he'll be gone for that, and then they're both these guys are heading to Kansas to be, chasing around where the big ones live, I guess.
Man, yeah.
And I'll just be holding the fort down here in Alabama. Okay, I'll be shooting the 110-inch 8-pointers.
We are definitely going to represent the South well here, though, hunting, or Matt will. I rarely kill anything down here. I don't know why.
You don't go.
That's a big problem. Is I don't go.
You have to go.
What's the saying? You can't kill them on the couch.
That's it.
Oh, you can.
Just raise the window over there and kill them off the couch.
Yeah,
a couple of really good deer. But I tend to stay in work frame of mind when I'm home.
Right.
So, but I'm looking forward to changing that. But
we got to get him out.
Yeah,
we got to get him out this year.
But I love hunting, but I am more excited about us kind of being able to shine the light on hunting here in Alabama as much as I am anything about this, and really show people what to expect. It's different, and we're going to be vitally different from the guys doing the public land thing too.
Sure.
I mean, in my opinion, we're hunting more pressured deer than the public land.
In some cases, definitely.
I don't think the public land gets as much pressure as the properties that we're going to be hunting, next to us.
Especially our archery season.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's hardly any pressure on a lot of public land in archery season.
But we're leasing ground. Some of it's through private individuals. All of it's private ownership, but most of it is through timber companies. Mm-hmm. So there's a plethora of things that we can't do, and we're in the same boat as the guys in Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're hunting industrial pine plantation, and I am really excited to do that and shine a light on that so that, there's folks really see how it is.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, well, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up the first episode here. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Those of you who are going to be checking this out, one thing we'd ask you to do is once we get this stuff uploaded, of course, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to find that, social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. If you would, just obviously subscribe to those, follow those, and then share it with somebody. Again, I know we've said it a lot, but I'm excited to kind of show the world and show, the country how things are done in the Southeast from a management perspective, you know what I mean? And just how it's just a different planet here. Things are different and in the best way, really. Like, it's just kind of a cool thing. So
absolutely.
Getting a chance to share that with you guys. And if you know somebody in the South, or if you're in the South yourself, we just ask that you would follow along with us, stick with us. We're still working out the kinks on audio and video and all that good stuff. So hang out with us, and it's going to be one heck of a journey. I think we're going to have a lot of fun together, though.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's do it for the first episode. We'll see you guys on episode 002. Thanks, guys.
See you.
See ya.